Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Bonding with Mark and Andy. I'm Andy Parker. I live here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. This is my good friend, Mark Greenaway. Say hello, Mark.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Mark, whereabouts are you living currently? Since I'm in Nashville, where would you be?
I am an hour's drive west from Heathrow Airport, down in Berkshire, leafy countryside of Berkshire.
He is over the pond, as we say here in the States. He lives over in England. I live in Nashville. Mark and I, we're roughly the same age. We're too old to talk about, but young, old enough to have a great memory of a great music scene, which is kind of how we got together. Basically, during the pandemic, when the worldwide pandemic hit, me and two of my other friends, Brent Walter and Josh Weaver, we have a love for a band called Night Ranger from the 80s. And during the pandemic, we were talking about just trying to find information because Night Ranger, isn't, they're not like Bon Jovi or The Who or they weren't as big. So we started this little Facebook group, and then we started a podcast because Brent and I had always had we've been podcast fans since the early days of podcasting, listened to them a lot. We always wanted to do a podcast. And we've slowly started this page and built this following. People would join the group, and we started out slow. And as of the last time I looked, I think our membership is up to 8,500 people on our Facebook group. And then along comes this British black bloke.
This British guy, this British bloke, geezer.
Mark, tell us how you stumbled upon these three idiots talking about Night Ranger.
I'm stuck at home. It's the pandemic. It's lockdown. I can't go anywhere. Sat at my laptop, and on my Facebook feed comes a recommended for you, Night Ranger Fans in Motion podcast. And I'm not usually a joiner of things like that. I'm a bit more of a lone ranger.
I got to see these losers.
Yeah, but I've been a Night Ranger fan since '85, and I thought I was the only one over here because, to be honest, they didn't crash the charts in Europe, in the UK. But I've always loved them, and this Night Ranger podcast came up, so I thought, I'd take a look, and I joined it, and I found the most amazing community of people. News, reviews, music, it was all there, and I loved it and just lapped it up, and just became the British fan, I think. I mean, there are other British fans, obviously, but right. So I got involved.
Yeah, and, so we were talking. Brent, I think, had started talking to you just back and forth, and I started chatting with you, and I just really got a kick out of Mark. We're like brothers from another continent.
Mothers.
I mean, we really, it's weird that when you find a friend or make a friendship with somebody that you haven't known for 50 some years.
I clicked with you and Brent quite easily. I got on very well with you straight away, and it's been great. It's been absolutely great.
Long story short is, I think I said something in passing to Mark because he'd said he hadn't seen Night Ranger. Took you how long to see him your very first time?
To me 26. I bought Seven Wishes in 1985. They toured England with Foreigner very briefly in 85, but I missed it. I didn't know about it. And then they didn't come back until 2011. So it took me 26 years to see them live. So what a night that was.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So there being an American band, we have the ability to see Night Ranger. And again, I know this is kind of drifting around here. People are like, what the hell are you talking about this band for? But we'll get there. We're going to get to why we're here. We have the ability to see Night Ranger in America. I mean, literally any given weekend. They're always touring. They're close enough. A lot of times we can go see. I just saw them last Friday night as we record this thing. Mark wanted to always see him and talked about coming to the States to see him sometime. And I kind of said in passing, with no, honest to God, no real thought that he would ever take me up on it. But I said, hey, Mark, you ever want to come to the States? I got an extra room here in Nashville. Come on over and we'll go to a show.
Silly boy. Took you up on that one, didn't I?
I'm at work one day. I see Mark message me and he sends me a picture of a ticket he'd bought to a show in Cleveland, Ohio, which is roughly 7 hours from where I'm sitting, 8 hours from where I sit. And he's like, "I'm coming over, Parker," and I'm like, "Okay, shit." I better ask.
Called
I
your
better
bluff,
ask
didn't
my
I?
wife because I didn't say, "Hey, I'm inviting some guy from England who I've never met to stay at our house." Anyway, Mark gets a ticket. He comes to the United States. Him and my wife hit it off fantastically. They're drinking tea and on the back patio, playing with my dogs. And Mark and I go on a whirlwind adventure with our buddy Brent. And I think it was we went to 2 concerts, Cleveland, Ohio, the Danny Repepe Memorial Show with the Cleveland Youth Orchestra, which was
insane. It was
insane.
Great. Yeah.
And then we drove from Cleveland, Ohio to Brown County, Indiana, and then saw another great rockin' show, the same band, Night Ranger, and then we drove back home and put Mark on a plane.
Don't forget the important bit, that this lifelong British fan who's never thought in a million years he'd ever get to the States to see Night Ranger actually ended up backstage meeting the band. You forgot that bit.
So luckily from doing this little podcast, the other one that we do, which is called Fans in Motion, if anybody's interested in checking something else out that we do, is over the 2 or 3 years we've been doing this, Brent and Josh and I have luckily got to kind of work with the band here and there, and we were able, thanks amazingly to Ed Repepe, who's their tour manager.
Great guy.
He really rolled out the red carpet for Mark in Nashville, Indiana, and took us backstage, got to meet the band. He got to hang out with Jack and Kelly. He got a shout out from the stage from when Jack Blades himself. Look at this. I was there for that photo, man. It was amazing. And it's not to get all super mushy sentimental, but we kind of chronicled Mark's adventures in America on our Facebook page, and we kind of bonded as friends, as brothers, and a lot of
you spend that many hours in a Chevrolet Cruise, you become pals, or you become the worst of enemies. I think
we did what was it, 1,400 miles, 4 days, 5 states, 4 states,
and you drove the entire trip. You were amazing.
One too many triple cheeseburgers from McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
too many Liam Neeson jokes.
Yeah, beers.
So Olive Garden, the great Italian cuisine,
because I couldn't eat any more cheeseburgers. I really needed a salad.
It was unbelievable, and it was it was a trip of a lifetime for all 3 of us. I mean, his was much bigger than ours, but Brent and I had such a good time, and we literally, I mean, him and I, we say all the time, like Mark is just one of us, or we're one of him. It doesn't how you put it, and it's just unfortunate that we don't live closer.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So over the course of this adventure, we're talking because we're movie buffs, we're music buffs, we're pop culture buffs. And Mark is talking about James Bond movies. And I happen to mention that and I'll say it, I'm 53 years old. I have never seen a James Bond movie.
How is that even possible?
And I can't say why. I mean, especially because back in the day, I worked for Blockbuster Video, the biggest video chain in the world.
You worked at Blockbuster, but you still haven't seen a Bond film.
I never, and I could rent them for free. The fact that they were also on TV all the time. Don't do it, Mark.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. So we get to talking, and Mark is having the same reaction. Like we're driving around, we're at my house. He's like, I don't understand how you've never, I mean, not one. And there's how many Bond films are there at this point?
26 now. Yeah, I think it's 26.
Still haven't seen any of them. So as a guy, who does podcasting, and I love talking, and especially love talking to my friend Mark, I said, hey, I got this idea. Let's you and I do a podcast where twofold. I mean, A, it's a reason for Mark and I to get together and talk and get to know each other. But B, we'll use James Bond as our Bond. I'll watch all the movies. Since you've already seen them all, you can watch or not watch, but we will discuss them, and we're going to go in order. So we're going to start with Dr. No, right? Is that the first one?
Dr. No, 1962, Dr. No.
So we're going to start with Dr. No. I'm going to watch the film. Mark may or may not, but he may have it memorized. And then each episode of what we're doing here with bonding, and hence the title, bonding. It's a play on words. James Bond, us discussing the Bond films, and Mark and I bonding our friendship over the course of the next at least a minimum of 27 episodes. I would say. I don't know, as many episodes as there are for movies, but our hope is if this little podcast adventure gains a little traction, that we'll keep going. We'll just keep talking about the Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller. I mean,
St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah, I mean, anything that we want to talk about, as long as people are still paying attention and listening to us, and we have a reason to get together and talk. And also we want to talk about. So we're going to talk about the movies in the first half of each episode, and the second half, we're going to talk about the differences of an American teenager in my experience versus a English teenager and adult, and just the differences of a little bit of America and England. And hopefully we'll have some laughs, and maybe we'll all learn something about each other's country.
We always have a laugh.
I mean, that's kind of the goal. And yeah, it's just going to be some fun. So hopefully everybody will come along for the ride with us and suggest stuff for us. We'll welcome people joining us and talking to us, and questions for me, questions from Mark, and we'll try to answer as best we can. We'll keep it light and fun. We will keep politics and social woes out of this. That's not who Mark and I are about. We're talking about music and Ferris Bueller and wearing Thriller jackets and dressing like Marty McFly, whatever.
Some of us wore Thriller jackets, Andrew. Some of us did.
Yeah. Well, that might pop up in the episode.
I think we need to see that picture again, Andrew.
I will do what I can. So, yeah, Mark will keep us up to date on what's happening there in his little town,
my little corner,
and that's it. I don't know what else we got to talk about. This is just I think there's a plane landing next to Mark.
There's a train flying past. Sorry, we'll have to sort that out.
Yeah. So, but that's it. That's just it's just me and Mark, and maybe once in a while we'll try to get Brent to join us if we can. And we're just going to have some.
Brent Waller, what a hero he is.
I was talking to him last night about the show, and he's excited to see what we do. He's already a fan of us. But
he's a great guy.
He doesn't have a choice. I wanted to say, Mark, I'm actually drinking me a.
Cup
in my loser mug.
Nice.
But I'm drinking some PG Tips.
Good for you. I've just had one.
I don't know. You called it a builder's tea, right?
Builder's tea, yeah.
What exactly? Because I say that all the time to Teresa when I make tea. I'm making my proper builder's tea. And she goes, you don't even know what that means. And I said, I don't. But Mark used the term.
An old chipped enamel mug on a building site. You leave the tea bag in for like 3 hours. It comes out. It's the color of mahogany, couple of sugars, splash of milk. That's the way to drink a cup of tea. Builder's tea.
So yeah, real quick, Mark, if you want to explain the oddities that the frustration you found over here in America, the first quick adventure of he was baffled that most people in America do not own a.
You don't have a kettle. No one has a kettle in their kitchen. They've got these coffee makers. What are they called? Keurigs or something.
Keurigs.
Where they warm up the water to about 88 degrees or something. It doesn't even get close to boiling point. And then they say, "Here you go, have a cup of tea, mate." And I'm like,
he's like, "What the hell's this?"
It was pretty grim.
We had more fun everywhere we went. Mark would try to find
a decent cup of tea.
Just a decent cup of tea.
I mean, there was that lady in Nashville, Indiana, in that tea shop. She was good. She was all right. Gave me some tea bags.
We go into the shop. Brent and I were talking about the story the other night at the concert. We were telling this story to Melissa and Kathy and Tammy. Were sitting there and we're telling this funny story about Mark. How Mark, at the time had longer hair than he has now, and looked a little like he could have looked like a rock star. He could have looked like one of the guys in the band.
I did all right.
And I had to physically stop him, I think, twice from signing autographs.
Yeah, I did get asked if I was with the band a couple of times.
And he's like, sure. And I was like, don't you sign that.
Yeah, I think it was after I had the wine tasting in the town. That was right. Yeah.
Well, that was funny too, because they walk into a place and they said, do you want to taste the wine? He goes, taste? No. I want a glass.
Oh, I want a glass of it. Yeah. Let's not talk about the cigarette story in the gas station.
We will not. No. But Mark had his glass of wine, and then we found oddly enough, a tea shop in this little. if you're not familiar, if you live here in the States, we have this little area in Indiana. It's called Brown County, Indiana, but the town is called Nashville, Indiana, unlike where I'm at in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's just this cute little town. There's little shops everywhere.
It was lovely.
And there was a tea shop. And Mark walked up and he said, I have a challenge for you. Something like that. I don't remember the exact wording. He says, can you make me a proper cup of tea?
Yeah, I'm desperate for a proper cup of tea.
And she was really working hard to make you the right proper cup of tea. And I'm assuming it's probably the best tea you've had over here.
Yeah, it was great. It was good.
I don't know if that means anything to a guy who comes from the land of tea, but
it was a great cup of tea.
It was the best we could do at the time.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It beats the hot water at the hotel lobby with a tea bag, just a Lipton tea bag.
There was a lot of Jack Daniels. There's quite a lot of beer. Not enough tea, but it was good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, another train's coming past.
Okay, hold.
We'll have to do something about that. I'll have to show.
I will insert a train graphic at that point in time.
Yeah. I've got a little train line at the end of the garden.
Yeah. So I think that's it for this episode. This is just an introduction to show you the very next episode you see will be us talking about the great Dr. No. That is the Sean Connery era. Am I correct?
Yeah, it is indeed. Sean Connery.
62. How many Bond films did Sean do?
He did, I think it was 6 in the end. Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, You Only Live Twice, and then he came back for Diamonds Are Forever. Then he did Never Say Never Again in 83. So, but yeah, 5, 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and we can't forget, and we'll talk about it more during the episode, but we did make a stop at the legendary Fort Knox.
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah.
I think that's what got our Bond conversation started.
Yeah. For a little boy, a little English boy that used to watch Bond movies, over here, you'd have a Bond movie at Christmas. You have a Bond movie at Easter. I saw Goldfinger when I was, I don't know, 8. The first Bond film I saw in the cinema was The Spy Who Loved Me in 77 when I was 8. And then Goldfinger is always on TV over here. To actually be outside the gates at Fort Knox after being a lifelong Bond fan just blew my mind. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
He calls me, he goes, hey, any chance we can just drive by like just the sign? I was like, hell, well, dude, it's on the way.
Yeah.
We're going to Cincinnati to pick up Brent. Hell, it's on the way. We just stopped. Now we didn't go in.
But I saw it. I saw the building in the distance.
He's got pictures of him with the Fort Knox sign, and
it was amazing. I loved it. Absolutely,
it was fun.
Yeah,
and I'd never been there. I'd driven by it a couple of times in my life, but I'd never,
Well, because you've not seen a Bond film, you don't realize the significance of the place, Andy. That's what we're going to discuss.
Zero meaning for me. I don't know this
for you.
I don't know the love for Aston Martins or the Lotus.
Do you mean this?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Look at that. That is so cool.
Yeah,
now, I have seen, since Mark, I've been talking about this, he has sent me a clip of that Lotus in action, and that's pretty damn cool. And that is a cool car. I'm not going to lie.
It's a very cool car. I've driven an Aston Martin, but I would really love to drive a Lotus Esprit because I was 8, and that made a massive impact on me watching that car chase. First of all, he's being chased by a motorcycle with a bomb on it. Then he's being chased by a Ford Cortina. He deals with that. Then he's being chased by a helicopter. And then it becomes a submarine. It was amazing. Talking about Roger Moore. Here's Rog. Here's his autobiography.
I have that book. Mark gifted me a copy of that book. Is that the one you gave me?
No, yours doesn't have a signature on it.
No, but it's the same book, right?
It's the same book, yeah.
So my
signed by the man himself.
That's cool. Now, is he your? Well, we'll get into the breakdowns, but is he your favorite Bond?
I grew up with Rog. Yeah, Roger's my man, I think. Yeah. I like them all in different ways, but I think
and then
Roger's mine.
I'm going to ask you this, maybe putting you on the spot, but do you have a favorite Bond film? Like, can you say this is my absolute favorite, or is it kind of like I like this one from the Connery era, I like this one from Roger Moore? I hope by the end of this adventure I can pick one and say this is my favorite.
I think my favorite would be The Spy Who Loved Me because it was Roger at his very best. It's got a great car. Great girl. I mean, Barbara Bach, the actress in it, is gorgeous. Yeah, I think for Connery it would be Goldfinger. For Roger it would be The Spy Who Loved Me. Timothy Dalton only did the 2. I quite like Living Daylights. And then of course there's Pierce. GoldenEye was tremendous. I saw GoldenEye at the cinema 2 days after it came out, and that was just insane. The whole crowd just jumped to their feet. it was, yeah, seeing GoldenEye at the Leicester Square in '95 was very cool. And then we got Daniel, who's done a stellar job. I prefer my Bond to be darker haired, a bit smoother, but yeah. Daniel did a good job. I'm very interested to see who they get next.
I'll say this, and again, this is probably what people think of us Americans that live around the world, how dumb we can be sometimes. But what little I know about Bond, and admittedly, because I didn't watch the films, and you'd have to maybe give me the timeline. I'll look it up when we get to the episode. But was it GoldenEye?
GoldenEye was 95. Yeah, 95. Yeah.
There was a video game out.
That's right, on the Nintendo 64.
That's my extent of knowledge of Bond, how popular this game was, because we used to rent video games when I worked at the video store.
Great game.
And ran out of time, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who cares? It's Bond. Give me the Breakfast Club. Where's the Breakfast Club video game? That was my theory.
Well, the thing with Golden, I mean, we'll talk about it at the time, but there was a big lag. There was 6 years between License to Kill in '89 and then Pierce Brosnan in '95. 6 years without a Bond film. So the anticipation and the hype was just insane. I remember at the time. We were all waiting to see what Pierce would do, because he was destined to play Bond.
Really?
So yeah, it was great. I mean, he was up for it when Roger left and Timothy Dalton got the job. He couldn't do it because he was doing Remington Steele on your TV over there. He couldn't.
That's right.
Do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Timothy Dalton got the job, and then he packed it in after 2, and Pierce got it. So yeah, GoldenEye was a big deal at the time. Yeah, big deal.
Well, that's awesome. So anyway, we could go on and on forever. We'll end this episode. For now, this is just an introduction from Andy and Mark to the world. Hopefully, people will find a little bit of humor in us, and maybe they'll watch along with us, the Bond movies, and we'll start our own little Facebook page, and people can join us, and we'll chat and argue over the best Bond and the best scene and the best villain.
Sounds good.
Meanwhile, I'll be going, I don't know what the hell you people are talking about.
I can't believe you've got to 53 years old, Andy, and you've not seen a Bond film. You're about to get an education, my man.
It changes because of you, my friend.
Oh, that's
my friend
good.
Mark is forcing me to watch these Bond films. No, he's not. I needed to see him, and it's a great reason for us to talk. So with that being said, everybody, from Nashville, I say goodbye for now.
From England, I say farewell.
And we will be back hopefully weekly, and you can tune in and join us, and we'll see you then.
Excellent.
Keep bonding, everybody.
Keep bonding, everyone.